could have gone, you know, abroad for a lot more money, like life-changing money. Like.
When former Man United and England international Jesse Lingard signed for Nottingham Forest in July 2022, it made the Premier League stand up and take notice that Nottingham Forest weren't just back in the big time, but they meant business. Overall, he would play 232 games for Man United, scoring 35 goals, assisting 21. They're no rookie numbers at all, and having been so successful at West Ham in the 2020-21 season for the second half of it, and I mean, he was a big hit. He was a big reason why West Ham qualified for Europe that season. As a free agent, it's obvious you go back to West Ham. You're loved there, you know, they gave you a chance. It's a no-brainer. That's not what happened. That didn't happen at all. But it wasn't just the fact that he'd gone to a club that he didn't have any connection to at all. A newly promoted club as well. A good chance that he was going to get relegated for all he knew. It was a very controversial move because of what was being offered to Jesse. There are so many reports about how much money he was earning to join Nottingham Forest, between £80,000 a week, £110,000 a week, potentially even £120,000. There were reports at the time of £200k. I highly doubt that was the case. But either way, his signing meant that he would become our highest earner of all time. Immediately, he brought good vibes, and that is just how Lingard is known. Everyone knows Lingard to be, overall, he's been a very good player in his career, but also Lingard's personality. People were just saying, oh, he's just a joker. All he does is he just milks around, he's bothered about his hair and social media. He's not going to take it seriously. He's just using Forest as a stepping stone to get back to a bigger club. Oh, and he's definitely gone for the money as well, as I've already alluded to. But a lot of people don't like Lingard for that. They think he's just immature and he doesn't take it seriously enough. I really don't think that is the case at all. I think he takes it very seriously, very committed to his game, but he just likes to express himself and it appears a bit childish. For me, it brought good vibes only, and that's wasn't the only reason why I was so buzzing that we signed him, because of what he did in his career. We have just got promoted for the first time in 23 years and we've just signed a player like that. Oh yeah, do you mind subscribing for me? Because like, it just would be a great gesture. Just pure kindness really, I'd really appreciate it. Just hit the like button, subscribe to Rads, do it. Thank you. Lingard wanted to join Forest as a chance to potentially get into the England World Cup squad, but also just to get his career back on track. Not only that he wanted to get his career back on track, but Lingard has since said on the Diary of a CEO podcast that he just really wanted to get himself back into the right headspace. He was struggling mentally, he was drinking, he was not in a good way, and this was probably because of the situation at Man United. His personal life was playing a part as well, so there was lots to contend with for Jesse. Flash forward to the start of the season, Forest starting away at Newcastle United, back in the Premier League. Lingard starting as an attacking midfielder. Forest started the season by playing a 3-4-2-1 formation, with Lingard and Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson being the main three in that attack. But in this game against Newcastle, it was Lingard, Brennan Johnson and Sam Surridge. At the start of the season, he'll be playing regularly as a number 10, but also playing as a centre forward against Spurs in a 2-0 defeat. But it was quite clear to begin with that even though he did have a couple of good moments of brilliance really, a lot of what we were seeing from Lingard was just very mediocre and forgettable, quite honestly. He didn't appear to be fully fit, he certainly didn't appear to be sharp enough to put on really good performances, and from the get-go this definitely appeared to be the case. And before we knew it, on the 5th game of the season, he'd be dropped against Manchester City away. Probably, I mean, a fair game to be dropped from. He's an attacking player, you've got to take an attacking player out to play 10 defenders against City. But even so, if he was our marquee signing and he was doing really well, I don't think he would have been dropped. A key moment for me where Lingard was just totally out of his depth and not at all in form was the Leicester away game. I know I don't want to talk about that because that was truly depressing in every single way, but this summed him up. Slicing a pretty simple clearance leading to a goal. I know he's not a defender, but any footballer should be able to clear a ball like that. By this stage, Forest would switch to a 4-3-3 formation because we were quite clearly heavily struggling at the time as an entire team. This also did limit Lingard's minutes, with Morgan Gibbs-White now being in the team. He wasn't there at the very start of the season. And then you've got players like Dennis coming into the fold and Surridge still being a fairly important player at the time, Bowden Johnson for example. There was even reports in November time that Lingard may even have been shipped out by January because it just isn't working for him. He looked like his old self again today, and by old self I mean from earlier on this season where he just looked invisible really. But I have a feeling that this next period of his time at Forest kept him going, because just before the World Cup break and just after it, he had by far and away his best period of form at the club. I say form, it was just 3 games really. There'll be a game at home to Spurs in the League Cup and he would light it up. He was fantastic. He got an assist for Renan Lodi and he scored a goal himself, a great header assisted by Sam Surridge. And it looked like finally, albeit in November, Jesse Lingard was here. He arrived. It wasn't his greatest performance in the world, but it was a good performance. Then the next game against Crystal Palace in the league as well, he looked really good again. He looked really sharp. This is just a few days later. He nearly scored in that game too.
Well, maybe Jesse Lingard has finally arrived. Not quite as good as he was against Spurs, but it's more improvement than what we've seen in 80% of his games before the last 2.
The next game after the World Cup break, away at Blackburn in the League Cup. We won that game 4-1 and Lingard got an assist for Taiwo. Won it, a really good bit of vision really from Jesse to find Taiwo a really good goal. And more than anything, he scored a deflected free kick. Was this Jesse Lingard back? Is he here? Is he here to stay? Is this the Lingard that scored at the World Cup? Is it the Lingard that played for Man United? I mean, it was 3 games maybe, but that's it. Because the next game away at Old Trafford, his return to his boyhood club, he'd be injured. And that pretty much would completely change how the rest of the season would go for Lingard. He just could not stay fit. He couldn't even get fit. He wouldn't play again until February and a cameo appearance against one of his old clubs, West Ham. God, that was a dreadful game of football. And then really out of the blue, he'd start away at Spurs in March and look completely lost and out of his depth and get dragged at half time. That pretty much was the last time he played for us, because after that, he wouldn't play any other games minus a 2-minute cameo against Man United in April. Before that game and after that game, he was either on the bench a lot and not coming on, or he just wasn't even in the team. But it wasn't like he wasn't seen at all, because Lingard, I believe, personally, still played a very big part in how he stayed up. Because I already mentioned his personality. I just feel, and people can slate it all they like, but when we stayed up against Arsenal, you saw how he was just so giddy and happy that we'd stayed in the league. I just feel that kind of attitude really gives off good vibes to the rest of the squad. And you could see everyone got on so well with him, and even though they weren't playing, and when he was playing, he just clearly wasn't fit enough to do it, and he certainly wasn't in form. I'm not saying that if we didn't have Lingard doing that, we would have gone down, not at all, but I just think it was a nice thing to have around. This pretty big name and very influential player. Okay, he's not performing, but he's given off good vibes and motivation. Unsurprisingly, his 1-year deal would not be extended by the club, and he would be released in the summer of this year, and that would be that. He's since said, I'm not actually sure who to, but he has said this apparently. It was an amazing group of lads, amazing fans, amazing staff, a great experience. To stay up was our main aim, and we achieved that as a collective. That was what Lingard said about playing for Forest. Quite clearly, really did love playing for the club and representing us, but it just didn't work out for him. But what's Lingard up to now? Well, he's still a free agent, unfortunately for him. He was training with West Ham very recently, but it appears like he's not going to go back there. But now, it appears like he's going to be more than likely joining Al Ettifaq in the Saudi Pro League. I know. What a surprise, everyone's going there these days. Jordan Henderson, Damari Gray and Gigi Wijnaldum are there. So he's in pretty good company of household names, rather than probably a load of players he's not heard of before. He's not signed for them, he's just training with them for a month, and who knows, if surely he can make it in the Saudi League. I'll be very surprised if he can't. I hope he does make it there, because he deserves a club at the very least. I hope you've enjoyed this, everyone. A little documentary about Jesse Lingard at Forest. I'm going to continue to do more of these videos. They're a bit up and down in terms of how frequently I do these video essays, because They are quite hard to think of actually, but I thought this would be a really good one to do. So if you would like more of these videos, please show me by hitting the like button, subscribing to Rads, it goes a very, very long way, and even suggest a few ideas if you really want to. Thanks for watching everyone, I'll see you soon for my Brentford coverage this weekend. Big game, up the Reds.